My friend, the Eagles' 2026 schedule was just released, and it is a fascinating mix of real advantages, hidden traps, and a handful of games that will completely define how this season is remembered. The Eagles arrive in 2026 as Super Bowl champions, back-to-back NFC East champions, and with one of the most complete rosters in the conference. But the schedule the NFL placed in front of them has details that will demand a great deal from Nick Sirianni and his coaching staff. And in this video, I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to know. The real pros, the real cons, the games that matter most, and what all of it means for Philadelphia's chances of reaching their third consecutive Super Bowl. If you want to break this season down with me week by week, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. The Eagles' 2026 schedule has a lot more nuance than it appears at first glance, and I'm going to show you every layer. Let's start with the good news. The Eagles' strength of schedule in 2026 places Philadelphia as owners of the 7th easiest schedule in the NFL, based on projected win totals for their opponents. Eagles' opponents had a combined record of 138-149-2 in 2025, a winning percentage of just 0.481. For comparison, in 2025, Eagles' opponents had a combined record of 162-127, a winning rate of 0.561. That is an enormous difference, from one of the hardest schedules in the league to one of the most accessible. That shift alone is already reason for optimism among Eagles fans, and ESPN's Mike Clay was direct with his projected win total for Philadelphia in 2026, 10.9 wins. The betting over-under sits at 10.5 wins, suggesting the market also sees the Eagles as a solid double-digit win team. Philadelphia Inquirer analyst Ryan Novozinsky was even more optimistic, projecting a 12-5 record for Philadelphia, with the Eagles entering Thanksgiving at 8-2 before a tougher stretch of schedule at the end of the season. Now let's map the schedule itself, because the structure of the games tells a very specific story about how this season is going to unfold. The Eagles open at home against Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. Home opener, against a division rival that enters 2026 with renewed expectations, but still real questions on their roster. It's a favorable start. The Eagles should be favored in that game, and a home win in the opener sets the tone for the season. Week 3 takes the Eagles on the road to Chicago for Monday Night Football. That is the first of 5 non-Sunday games on Philadelphia's schedule, and Week 3 already begins testing the coaching staff's ability to prepare the team through shortened weeks. Chicago was a surprise in 2025, but faces real regression questions in 2026. A tough game, but a winnable one. Week 4 at home against the Los Angeles Rams is where the first major red flag appears. The Eagles are coming off a Monday night in Chicago. The Rams arrive with more rest. This is exactly the kind of rest disadvantage that the Bleeding Green Nation analysis highlighted explicitly. The Eagles will be at a disadvantage in a game that could be one of the most important in the NFC early in the season. A primetime NFC matchup 1 week after MNF in Chicago, with a rest gap. Complicated. Week 5 is London. Eagles versus the Jacksonville Jaguars at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the Eagles' first trip to England since 2018, when they beat the Jaguars themselves 28-14 at Wembley Stadium. There is an interesting historical irony here. The last time the Jaguars hosted the Eagles in Jacksonville in a regular season game was September 2010. With the Eagles facing Jacksonville in London in 2018 and again in 2026, Philadelphia may not go back to Duval County until 2034, a 24-year gap. But the logistical challenge is serious. London is the longest trip on the schedule, different time zone, a completely different week. And unlike 2018, when the Eagles had a bye the following week, in 2026 they come straight home and play again in Week 6. And Week 6 at home against the Carolina Panthers carries a built-in disadvantage. Carolina is coming off their Week 5 bye well rested, while the Eagles are arriving from London. 3 traps in sequence. MNF in Chicago, the Rams with a rest advantage, the Panthers with a bye, all inside a 4-week window. That stretch from Week 3 to Week 6 could define the Eagles' momentum before the season even reaches its midpoint. But here is where the schedule becomes much friendlier for Philadelphia, my friend. From the Week 5 London trip all the way through Week 12, when the Eagles fly to Dallas, Philadelphia does not board a single plane for a game. That is 44 days traveling only by train or staying in the city. For the muscle recovery and physical management of a roster that includes Saquon Barkley and a heavyweight offensive line, That is a real logistical advantage that very few teams in the country will enjoy in the same window. And that stretch includes 3 consecutive NFC East games. Week 7 at home against the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football, Week 8 on the road against the Washington Commanders on Sunday Night Football, and Week 9 at home against the New York Giants. But the rest disadvantage shows up again here, aggressively. The Commanders arrive at Week 8 coming off a bye in Week 7. The Giants arrive at Week 9 also coming off a bye. And the Eagles arrive at both games with no bye, coming off MNF against Dallas with a short week into SNF against Washington, then straight into the Giants. In total, the Eagles face 4 opponents coming off a bye week in 2026. The Panthers, Commanders, Giants, and Colts, the highest number of any team in the NFL. Week 10 is the Eagles' bye, and the timing is ideal. 9 games before the bye, 8 after. The most balanced possible split in a 17-game schedule. This is exactly what Nick Sirianni and the coaching staff prefer. A mid-season bye to recover players, adjust the game plan, and enter the second half of the season with renewed energy. The December stretch is where the story gets really interesting. Philadelphia enters one of the most compressed stretches on any team's schedule in the NFL. 3 consecutive home games across weeks 14, 15, and 16, but all packed into just 11 days. Week 14 at home against the Indianapolis Colts on December 13th. Week 15 at home against the Seattle Seahawks, the Super Bowl champions, on Saturday, December 19th. Week 16 at home against the Houston Texans on Christmas Eve, Thursday, December 24th. 3 home games is an advantage. 11 days with 2 short weeks embedded inside it is a real physical challenge, and the opponents could not be more demanding. The Seahawks are the reigning Super Bowl champions, a team that has historically dominated the Eagles, winning 9 of the last 10 matchups between the two teams. The Eagles' last win over Seattle was in 2008. That Week 15 game is going to be one of the most important on Philadelphia's entire schedule. The Thanksgiving game in Week 12 deserves special mention. It is the 8th Thanksgiving game in Eagles history and the first in Dallas since 2014. AT&T Stadium is a place where the Eagles have historically struggled, and the short Thanksgiving week adds another layer of difficulty. Right on the heels of that, Week 17 brings the 2025 wildcard rematch against the San Francisco 49ers, a game that could define playoff seeding. But as the Inquirer pointed out, the risk of waiting until Week 17 for that matchup is that it could lose its relevance if either team has had an inconsistent season. The schedule closes with Week 18 against the New York Giants, a game that could decide the playoff fate of at least one of the two teams. With all of that on the table, what the Bleeding Green Nation analysis highlighted as its conclusion is accurate. There is a lot to like about this schedule, and a lot to dislike. The favorable strength of schedule, the well-timed bye, the long stretch without plane travel, and the 3 home games in December are real advantages. But the 4 opponents coming off byes, the rest disadvantages in Week 4 and Week 8, the London Panthers division sequence across 5 weeks, and the brutal December closing stretch against the Seahawks, Texans, and 49ers are challenges that cannot be ignored. What do you think? Can the Eagles navigate this schedule and reach a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl? Or are the hidden traps on the calendar going to cost Philadelphia at the worst possible moment? Drop your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back later with the latest Eagles news.